Hey friends, it is so fun to be here with you today because we're making one of my favorite treats, scones. Hi, if you're new here, my name's Angela and I'm the Inquisitive Farm Wife, and it is so good to see you here today. If you are new, you may not know, but I love to do all sorts of new and fun things, and I love to share them with all of you. And if you have been around a while, welcome back. So good to see you here in the kitchen today. As I stated, we're going to be making scones, but now that I have found my base recipe that I really enjoy for scones, we're going to get a little creative and we're going to do a fall inspired scone. And when I think fall, I think cranberries, orange, pecan. So that's what we're going to do today, a cranberry orange pecan. Okay, so the first thing I have done is I have 2 cups of flour that I already have measured out right here into my bowl. And to that, I'm going to add a half a cup of just regular granulated sugar. You know, these scones aren't going to be just any scones. They're going to be sourdough scones. I've been having so much fun playing with my sourdough. We need a tablespoon of baking. Oh, I have the wrong thing. I need baking powder and I have baking soda. So actually, this particular container of baking powder is a little bit clumpy. And so what I'm going to do, I have noticed it is, I just want to make sure that I get a good product. And I think that's just about all that was left in the bottom of this tub. So we finished that off. That's always a kind of a good feeling to get through something like that. So what I have here is just a sifter. It's just a simple 1 cup sifter. I don't even remember where I got it or how long I've had it. But what it does is it helps you break down all those clumps, which could cause you some issues. Okay, so now that is nice and sifted. Now I could have sifted the flour too if I'd wanted to, but I didn't. We're going to need a half a teaspoon of salt. What I have here is just pink Himalayan sea salt. That's just my preference. Right into the bowl. And we're going to take 1 full stick of chilled butter. You can actually take this and put it in the freezer, and then you could use a cheese grater and you could grate it. But I find, honestly, just my own personal experience here, is that you can take and cut it into teeny tiny little cubes, because what you're going to want to end up doing in the long run anyway is to turn it into pea-sized pieces. And so I'm just going to cut it into very small pieces and go from there. I could also take a cheese grater and grate this even from the refrigerator. It's actually pretty cold still, so I'll just make lots of little pieces here. And no, this is not my homemade butter. Sadly, I am out of butter. Okay, so I've got a Danish whisk here. I love using a Danish whisk for, sweetbreads and scones and just simple, like no knead bread recipes. If you're wanting to not work it too hard in your mixer, then this is a great, really awesome tool to have. And I just got mine one time off Amazon years ago. And so now I'm going to add my butter. Actually, before I add the butter, I just remembered we're going to add in your mix-ins, and they suggest up to a cup worth of stuff. And I've got almost a cup worth of cranberries. I'm not one to necessarily follow the rules. I'm going to make these nice and full. I'm probably going to use, this is a half a cup, so I might use a fourth of it, a fourth a cup. So I'll use half of this bag, and these are just chopped pecans because we like lots of mix-ins. And what I have here are some freeze-dried oranges. I have a peeler, and I'm actually going to just get some of the peel, because even though it's been freeze dried, I've always kind of liked just using that outer skin and make a mess at the same time. So we've double accomplished here, because I don't necessarily need the inside, and I don't really want the white pithy parts. I can save this part here and put it inside maybe a cup of tea or some water to give it some flavor, because all I really want is the rind. So we're going to take a few slices. I'm going to say maybe a tablespoon's worth of the zest. And because I'm actually going to put this in the refrigerator, probably it is midday. I could bake these tonight, but I'll probably wait until tomorrow actually to bake them, because I'm going to have some other stuff in the oven anyway. If you're not going to be baking in the next 8 to 12 hours, I would just put them in the freezer so that they won't get too tangy, because that's what can happen with sourdough, is it will get more sour as it rests. And so it will continue to ferment, even though what we're using today is an inactive starter. It still will do that. So let's see. Let me show you what I got going on in here in the bowl. So we've got our freeze-dried zest. We've got our dehydrated cranberries. And we've got our chopped pecans. And so I'm going to go ahead and seal this back up, leaving these ones that I've taken the zest off of. And I think I might have some hot tea. I'm kind of the weather, I'm feeling that, and I think hot tea sounds really good. So now I want to make sure that I coat all this. That's a trick when you make muffins and scones and whatever. You want to, any of your fruit, whether it's frozen or dehydrated or whatever, you want to go ahead and coat it with your batter, your dry ingredients first. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add in our butter, our little tiny tidbits here. Now you can use a pastry blender, and I do have one of those upstairs, but I have found that my hands are one of the best tools I have in the kitchen. So of course we're using nice clean hands, and all I'm doing here is I'm kind of squishing each of these little squares, that, especially the ones that are a little bigger than I needed them to be, and I'm just going to kind of break them up, and we're going to put them over our dry pieces, a dry mixture. And I'm going to get in here with my hands, and we're going to give it a mix. And I'm going to pinch this butter just a little bit to try to get smaller pieces. And you know that when you make a pie, they always tell you pea-sized pieces, but honestly, I'm going to show you about how I like my pieces. I like them really small. Like, look how flat and tiny some of these pieces of butter are. To me, that's like a half of a pea. So that's where 2 forks or a pastry blender or something like that would come in handy. Because one thing is, you do have to work quickly, because the warmth of your hands will kind of melt that butter. And that's another reason why you always want to put this back in the refrigerator or into a freezer before you bake it, because you need that butter to be chilled to get that final desired consistency that you love in those flaky, buttery scones that are really basically a biscuit that's flavored with sugar and all the good things. Now you can use fresh, but just remember that higher hydration, you may have to adjust your recipe just a little bit. Like if I were to use fresh orange zest plus fresh cranberries or blueberries or whatever you're adding in there, they're going to have that extra hydration in them. And so you may have to add just a little bit extra flour. And it's the same thing with your sourdough starter, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. that's another thing that, if you have a high hydration discard, then you may have to add just a little bit extra of your flour. And if I didn't mention it already, I'm using an all-purpose flour today. And I'm going to need another bowl for my liquid ingredients, which is, we'll start with the egg. Okay, so here's our liquid ingredients. So we've got a half a cup here of a non-active sourdough starter. So it's your discard, have you. That mine has been pretty active. You can see it had started to kind of bubble up just a little bit. Still, it's got a little life in it. To me, that is not a bad thing. So don't be fearful if all you have is active starter. Absolutely, you can use that. And then you're going to want a large egg. And I just like to go ahead and crack mine into a different bowl because you live on the farm, you never know. But also, the tiniest amount of shell can get in there, and you don't want to mess with that. We need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, this is my vanilla extract. It says I started it back in July of 2021. So I have just been constantly adding beans and vodka to this, and it just kind of keeps getting better and better with time. And I don't measure vanilla. Nope, that's not me. And it says, let's see, 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. This is my fresh cow's milk. Hopefully I kind of just poured some in here hoping I'd have enough. Okay, and I do. So there's for my cream for the inside. And then I've got a little bit saved here for when we bake it, we can brush on top. So you'll probably use actually more like 4 tablespoons have set aside for this recipe. Now I like to go ahead and mix all this together, your starter, depending on if it's thick like I like to keep mine, you're going to want to incorporate all the wet stuff together. And today I'm using my Spurtle. I don't know if I've talked to you about it in a video yet, but I'm so excited to have this. It works so wonderful with my sourdough. There are some amazing deals going on with Nutrimill right now. And if you haven't seen my video, I'm actually doing a giveaway this month. So yes, Nutrimill partnered up with me, and we are going to be giving away a mixer. So if you do not have a Bosch mixer yet, you are going to want to get in on this. And if you know someone who's been wanting one or could use one or need one, please share this information out to them, because all of the videos that I make this month are going to be included in that giveaway. And all you have to do is enjoy and watch the video and make a comment. And off of those comments, I'm going to be drawing a winner. So I'm going to encourage you to go ahead, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe to my channel and all my other social media. You will find me on Facebook, and I have a page on Instagram. Although I'm not super active on those places, I would love to have you there also, because sometimes I have a little bit more information or other things to share that I don't share here on YouTube. So make sure you're following along. And if you'd be interested in joining a mail list to have a newsletter, let me know, because I'm actually thinking about adding one of those to share more information and recipes with all of you. So anyway, back to the recipe. So now we're going to just add in our liquid with our dry ingredients. And I'm going to scrape all this goodness out. We don't want to miss any of this goodness. And now this is where this Danish whisk can really shine. You do not want to over mix this dough by any means. That's kind of what can ruin it. And the same thing with your biscuits and your muffins and all those things. You can see it's just a couple of turns and it's already starting to really come together. And it's okay to have all these crumbs and things like this. Whoops. You know, I always make messes in the kitchen. So now that I feel like that's fairly incorporated, I'm going to turn it out here onto my work surface. Make myself just a little bit more room. And again, we're going to get these tools out. The one that God gave us, our hands. And we're going to use this to do the rest of our mixing. So I like to kind of just squish it all together with my hands. Push it in. I'm not really kneading it. I'm just kind of bringing it all together. Just enough to where we can form almost a ball, but not quite. And yes, you can work on this and do it in the bowl, but I have found that if you just do it right here on your work surface, it's a little bit easier to kind of press. And to me, now this looks like it's pretty well come together, but I'm going to go ahead and try is the key word, to flip it over, just because I knew underneath there might be some flour and butter and other ingredients that I want incorporated into this, because I don't want to lose any of this goodness, kind of like when making a pie crust. Okay, and then it's up to you how you want to shape it. Are you going to make square scones? Are you going to take a cookie cutter and make individual ones? I personally like to put this in a circle. And you're going to want this, gosh, fairly thick. I mean, I like a pretty tall scone. So once I feel like I've kind of got that shape, I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces. So we'll start out by doing 4. And then, so we have this quartered, and then each of those I'm going to cut in half again. And this is going to give us our classic triangular scone. Okay, so next I'm going to get, I just have a half sheet pan here, because this is basically just for my refrigerator storage or freezer, whichever I end up deciding to do. And I'm just going to pick these up and make sure they're separate. And I'm just going to alternate them back and forth. And yeah, you're going to have some crumbles fall, and that is perfectly fine, especially if you're like me and you put in lots of filling in here. It's going to be, you know, a dry dough. So as this sits in the refrigerator and the butter chills back again, it's also going to help kind of hydrate this and keep it together a little bit. But when you go to bake it, if it's not, don't worry. Don't worry a tiny bit about it. You can see it's already kind of starting to come together. And I put this on the top to be a little bit dry, just so I could kind of monitor how much actually did and didn't get mixed in. But, you know, I have learned that it's okay if not all the ingredients get mixed in there and it's all perfect. So to help with that hydration, what I'm going to do is cover this in plastic. And like I said, we're going to put this in the fridge for at least 8 to 12 hours. I might even double cover this just to make sure, with all that paper kind of having it stick out. Make sure we get that kind of sealed in there, because they're not going to really rise or anything in the refrigerator. But we're going to let this set for 8 to 12 hours. And whether that be today or tomorrow, I will, or another day, I will bring you back and show you how this turns out. Hello, welcome back to the kitchen. We have our scones that set overnight, several hours in our refrigerator. So I'm going to unwrap them, and I'm going to do these a little differently than I do just for myself, just because this is actually a special order from my mama. She wants to share with some of her friends, and so I want to make sure that I do the best job I can. So I went ahead and I've got a separate pan, but by all means, you could bake them right here on this cold pan. It would actually probably be a good thing. Oh no, this doesn't want to fit. And I can't find my smaller ones. Hold on. Not a problem. I'm just going to get a bowl and I'll just pour that in there. And what this is our cream. Do you remember that we saved back some of that cream? Because I'm wanting to put lots and lots of cream on here. So I'm going to brush it a couple of different times. I'm going to go ahead and get that and let it just kind of soak in on round one. And then last time I made the scones, I made some blueberry scones and I shared them with my daughter, and I had them and we loved them. And I just thought, I took it to my mom's and I said, let's have afternoon tea with my sister. And so when we went to visit them, I took them some and she said, I could really taste that cream. So I want to make sure to do things just like I did last time. And like I said, you can absolutely bake it on this dish if you want, but I'm going to kind of spread it out and make a little bit more room. And what I'm doing here by putting this extra cream on here is I'm making sure that any dry bits that would soak any of this cream up are gone. And because I want to have a surface that I can stick that sugar on. And looks like we had just the perfect amount of cream left over. There's still a little on the pan. And see, that's another reason why you might want a little different a pan. Because also I'm going to generously sprinkle sugar all over the top. And that could cause it to burn in the pan. And because I've got this other, I'm not going to have to worry about getting it precise and exact. I just want to make sure that it's going to have that nice sugary crust. These aren't going to have any kind of a glaze or anything on them. So I'm wanting to let the sugar kind of take over the show. And I don't think I mentioned it already, I have the oven preheating to 400 degrees and we're not quite there yet, but we're very, very close. So it won't take but a minute because you want these to be cold. So if I didn't think it was going to be quite ready yet, I would most definitely put these back into the refrigerator to chill and stay cold. But by putting it on this pan, I can make sure that they're spread out more so that when they bake, they'll kind of puff up. This way, we can ensure that there's plenty of room and they won't stick together because we kind of want them to stay looking pretty. For eating at home, it's not as big of a deal. We are at 398 degrees. I think we'll probably, oh, there it is, 400. Probably be right on the target here. So now I'm just going to put, whoops. Got a little rogue piece. We'll see if I can't stick that back on there. I'm going to go ahead and put this in then. And actually, normally I would kind of want that shelf up a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. I kind of forgot that I was baking other stuff. So I'm going to set, it says 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for 22 minutes. And I think that's going to be about perfect. Go ahead and check on it at the 18 to 20 minute mark. And that's it, guys. You've got your scones done. All you got to do is let the oven do the rest. And then we'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like when they come out of the oven. Okay, so I didn't get to tell you. Oh, I'm having a hard time getting the camera right. Oh, yes, I got to get these out. Oh, wow. Perfect. Would not have wanted them to bake any longer. That was going off on me, and that was 22 minutes. And almost the halfway point, I did take them out and put them, turn them around. I don't want them to continue cooking. I don't want them to get too brown. So we're going to go ahead and put these on a cooling rack. And I'll talk to you while we do that. So I flipped them around, but I quite literally had baby boy in my arm, bottle under my chin, and there was just no way I was going to be able to get that filmed. So at the halfway mark, I did flip them around so that they would evenly brown. And oh, just perfect. Would not have wanted to go the full 25 minutes for sure. And the little thing was going off while I was trying to get the camera to go on. So lesson learned there too. Be camera ready before the oven goes beep beep. But these are beautiful, and they have this glistening, beautiful crust to them. They are just perfect the way I wanted them to be. This is Friday morning, mid-morning, late morning. And once they completely cool, I think I'm going to individually wrap them before I package them in a box for my mama. They're part of them for my mom, part for my sister. They're having company and they want to serve them Sunday morning breakfast. So my thought is if I wrap them individually before putting them in the box, they'll stay fresher a little longer. I'll probably tell her to put them in the refrigerator because that's what I did last time. After they cooled, I just put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the fridge, and they were perfect for several days. So that's how I would suggest it. If you know you need to bake ahead of time, you can actually freeze them and bake them the morning of, and that would be wonderful. But she didn't want to have to, she needed hands off. She just needed something that was ready. She might possibly put a tiny pat of butter on there and warm it up to serve her guest. I'm not sure. But anyway, I would like to thank you for coming along with me while we made these super delicious looking cranberry orange pecan scones. I mean, hello fall. Oh, and if I haven't mentioned it already, I want to make sure to mention it here. All the videos for the first couple of weeks in November are going to be included in my giveaway. So if you didn't know, I'm going to be giving away, Nutrimill and I have partnered up, and we're going to give away a Bosch mixer. That's right, my favorite mixer of all times. I will be giving one of those away. So make sure that you're reading in the description box. Make sure you're leaving comments. And I want to encourage you to go ahead and like all my socials. Make sure that you like and ring that bell so that you're notified for all the future videos so you don't miss out on even more opportunities, because every video you comment on during this time frame will go towards an entry to win the mixer. And this is too exciting to keep to yourself. Share it out with your friends and family and everyone you know. Share out. I'm going to have a video that kind of explains the whole thing. Share that video out. Share these videos out. Share out my channel. Do whatever you can to get the word out, because I would love to be able to see some special person win this. And the more people we can get involved, the better it will be. So I will see you, and we'll see who wins that mixer.